Actually, I wrote it, so he did it exactly the way I wrote it. So I do appreciate it. Thank you, Aubrey Stone and the Board of Directors of the California Black Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity to be here in Sacramento and to have some time to fellowship with you this morning. This is a very important gathering and a very important organization. And as always, in our tradition, I give honor and glory to God for allowing me to wake up this morning to be here. These are challenging times, and these challenging times require that we be guided by faith. Because if we were guided by CNN or Fox or MSNBC, we'd be in big trouble, wouldn't we? We know that there's a right way, and that way is given by the man upstairs. I'm not qualified to, in any way, present myself as a man of the cloth. Quite the contrary, to be frankly honest. But with that being said, I know where the power comes from, and I'm very thankful to our Lord, and my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for giving me the opportunity to be here to have this morning with you. I also thank God for Mr. Aubrey Stone, who I've known for a number of years now, and I've watched him as he has navigated this organization in a state and in a region that, in my honest opinion, does not do enough for all of its citizens in the area of business and business development. And as Aubrey talked about that balancing between fossil fuel resources and renewable power, it is just indicative of how ingrained he is in the business issues that impact this state. Aubrey, my favorite poem is Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Life is not a crystal stair, okay? It's not easy leading an African-American organization. It isn't. I'm sure it would be much easier managing a group like ISIS than it is managing an African-American organization. But Aubrey, we're so blessed that you stay strong. We're so blessed. I will expand a little bit on my background. Thank you, Rodney. I was honored to serve in the Schwarzenegger administration as the first African-American appointment secretary in California history. And I would hope and expect that I not be the last. I was here for a year in Sacramento, and let me tell you something. If you want to find a family-based, a faith-based African-American community that supports each other, that looks out for each other's children, that helps each other in networking and finding opportunities for families in the area of education and in the area of business and other important elements of fulfilling the American dream, come to Sacramento, California. I can't tell you how much Kim and I enjoyed our year here. And you know, I was honored by what's called the Unity Bar. And it's a bar association that consists of all the ethnic minorities, the LGBT community. And in preparing for my remarks, I did some research. There was a Time magazine article from like 1960, 1962 that called Sacramento the most integrated city in America. We called it integration back then. That was before diversity. Okay, and that's another thing that amazed me in my time here is how integrated this city is logistically, and so you know it's fitting. Another fitting reason that we're here today is your dynamic mayor. Let me just take a moment to give my utmost admiration to Mayor Kevin Johnson and his wonderful wife Michelle here, the first lady of Sacramento. Let me tell you what's going on up here. I was here a few months ago for the Links Convention, We not only had the honor to hear from Mayor Johnson, but we actually met with Councilman Rick Jennings, and these are the husbands or companions of the Links, and Councilman Mike Warren. And what you have going on in Sacramento right now reminds me of the great era of my mentor, Willie Lewis Brown Jr., the former speaker and the mayor of San Francisco. There is so much excitement and optimism about the future in this city because of this man's great leadership. And as I understand, am I correct, he can actually run for another term? You don't have to run. You may run for another term. I was hoping that Mayor Johnson would run for statewide office. I mean that. I would support him in a heartbeat for the very reason that we're here right now. He understands business and he understands education. And if there are two things that our community clearly needs, is leadership that understands business and education and the relationship between the two. Don't get me wrong, Mayor Edwin Lee is a dear friend of mine. I'm looking at Dr. Churchwell here. I'm a member of the San Francisco African American Chamber of Commerce. I know that Dr. Churchwell is one of his trusted advisors, but we're in the battlefield of San Francisco. It is a day-to-day fight for us to get the most significant recognition of dignity and opportunity. And that fight continues. So I was here for a year, serving with the governor. I also was chair or vice chair with Reverend Amos Brown, his re-election campaign. And it was a great time. I really enjoyed it. And after a year, the governor asked me to go to the California Public Utilities Commission. And as his chief of staff, Susan Kennedy, said, I had to leave Sacramento because I promised most of you appointments in the administration. And I think they saw that this logistically it wasn't realistic. It was like exporting 12 million people back to their countries that they came from. It just wasn't logistically possible. So I was sent to the California Public Utilities Commission, where I spent 6 years. Oh, I'm going to pull out the 800-pound gorilla. Don't trust me. Trust me. I had my 60th birthday. As I said, I thank God that I'm alive. You remember your old grandfather, your uncle, just say anything? Like, oh God, no, he didn't say that. By the time I finish, the 800-pound gorillas will be doing the wow up here on the stage. The whole group of them. Okay? Because we have to have that frank discussion.
Yes.
We do. I think Attorney General Eric Holder said it best. We are cowards when it comes to the discussion of race. We're cowards. And we have to have that frank discussion. So I had the honor of serving 6 years on the California Public Utilities Commission. When I arrived there, we have General Order 156. And I want to thank SEMPRA, Southern California Gas, and SDG&E, Bruce Mayberry, someone I worked closely with over the years, and obviously someone who I'm very dear and close with Rodney. I want to thank them for their sponsorship and their leadership in this space. I formed TAS Strategies shortly after leaving the commission. In government, there's no golden parachute. You know what I mean? You in government. Now, if you do have a golden parachute, I suggest you get a good attorney, okay? Because something went wrong in the accounting, okay? So when I left the California Public Utilities Commission, where I was honored to serve, and in both cases worked closely with our dear leader and teacher, Aubrey Stone, and had a chance to see firsthand the courage and the tactics that Aubrey would have. Aubrey would just copy me on the left to some utility saying what they're doing wrong, okay? And I'd say, wow, Aubrey, thanks. But that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
This is battleground. Business is war. Business is war. You need leaders that are not trying to kowtow to corporate America, who are not trying to kowtow to government officials, but who are representing the economic interests of their constituents. So, Aubrey, what I wanted to say to you is that, as you may recall, when I left the appointment secretary position and came to the California Public Utilities Commission, as a commissioner, you have to be confirmed. For those of you that are not into the workings of Sacramento, if you're in a constitutional office, you have to be confirmed by the Senate. And the president pro tem of the Senate at that time, former city councilman out of Oakland, California, said Timothy Allen Simon will not be confirmed. And that ricocheted across the state, and almost simultaneously there were all these articles about me kind of painting me the picture of this black Republican, you know, and folks like, oh my God, I didn't know he was Republican. Well, yes. I'm an attorney. I still don't see the law. There's a law against it. You know, it was the party that, you know, did, amongst other things, freed slaves, or those enslaved. We weren't slaves, we were enslaved. And we fought against slavery every day that we were enslaved. Slavery was abolished in 1880. 1800, I'm sorry. I got a little into myself. Slavery was abolished in 1800 because of the fear of insurrection. Make sure our children understand that. And just like our Jewish brothers and sisters say, never again. Make sure our children understand slavery and the impact that slavery has had on America that still exists today and clearly exists in the topics that we're talking about. But more important, that our ancestors fought, not just in Haiti and in Cuba, okay, but they fought right here in this country for our freedom. Yes, there was a civil war, but there were a lot of wars going on before there was a civil war. Mm-hmm. So at the California Public Utilities Commission, we have General Order 156. When I arrived there, I think we were somewhere around 2 or 3 billion in spend. When I left, we were up above 8 billion in spend. I want to believe that I had something to do with that. I think General Order 156 is a model for the nation. Mm-hmm. It not only is it an aspirational goal for the utilities, but it also creates an opportunity for the dialogue about the need to ensure that utilities that are given a rate base, who are given an authorized rate of return on their capital expenditures, who are given allocation out of your bills for their various office and management needs, that they maintain their obligation to the customers that they serve. It's just basically good social responsibility. But what I also noticed is that many of the programs and ideas that we fought for as an African American community, we were the Marines. We hit the beach first. Mm-hmm. Pushed the Nixon administration to have the Minority Business Enterprise Act. We pushed the Nixon administration to create affirmative action. Yeah, I'm a Republican that said affirmative action. I am. We have a Democratic-controlled Senate. We have a Democratic-controlled government. I don't understand why Proposition 209 isn't just abolished. I don't get it.
All right. That's what I'm talking about.
I really don't. And, you know, I will say, as Bill Clinton said, and this was shared with me by Christopher Edley, former dean of Berkeley Law School. We called it Bolt Hall back then. But he said that Bill Clinton said, mend it, don't end it. Mend it. If you have problems with it, California, if you have issues with how it was being applied, there are opportunities available to reconstruct it. But if you want to believe that we have a natural access to the marketplace, it just doesn't happen that way. I heard Condoleezza Rice, as Secretary of State, say in San Francisco to an audience at Davies Symphony Hall, demonstrators all outside. This was the height of the Iraqi invasion. When she talked about the Founding Fathers, she said the Founding Fathers that, by the way, owned my ancestors. So I don't speak, I love this country, I love being this country, but I don't speak of the Founding Fathers with the same level of reverence of some of my other fellow citizens. Because in my opinion, they were engaged in basically an unlawful kidnap of a race of people who just so happened to be from Africa, founded civilization, created commerce and trade, made enormous contributions. Why do we honor those that own human beings, or at least, as someone said about the steroid scandal in baseball, put an asterisk after their name if they're going to go into the Hall of Fame. We need to not forget the economic impact, the psychological impact that this institution has had on this country, and particularly the impact it has had on our brothers and sisters who have recently arrived in this country. When I say recently arrived, I mean probably since 1900. They don't understand the history like we do, and if we don't share that history with them, then we can't blame them for acting out of ignorance. to this confirmation, and it was a major amassing of black folks throughout the state that were demanding that the Senate confirm Timothy Allen's assignment. It became pretty controversial. You sit for 1 year and a day as a commissioner, and if you're not confirmed, you're dropped off. The Senate confirmed me the day after the 1 year. At 5 o'clock in the evening. I was praying up in the galleys with my chief of staff, and though some of you know Alan Carroll used to live here, we were all locked hands just praying that I would get confirmed, and fortunately I was confirmed. But Aubrey, during that period of controversy, and man, you were front and center, you spoke at my confirmation hearing, but I got a call from former Congressman J.C. Watts of Oklahoma. My mother, God rest her soul, was from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I carry a lot of Oklahoma pride in my veins. And J.C. called me up and said, "Commissioner, dogs don't bark in parked cars." Aubrey, dogs don't bark in parked cars. Oh, I know there's some crazy pit bulls out there that someone feds and stuff to, but dogs don't bark in parked cars. The controversy, and this is for all of us, the controversy you attract is usually because you are moving an agenda. It's very easy. It's very easy to sit back and complain. It's very easy to sit back and lament, or it's very easy to just kind of say that, well, I gave at the office. No, this is a continuous battle, it's a continuous war. And let me say why, and I'm going to try to put it into context. California is somewhere between the 6th and 8th largest economy in the world. What does that mean? Well, there's a G8. If the G8 was measured by GDP, Governor Jerry Brown, who, by the way, I believe is doing an admirable job in navigating the state. I want to just say that right here now. He chose not to reappoint me to the commission, but he appointed a brilliant black woman in Carla Peterson, and appointed another black woman in Leanna Randolph. In the 103-year history of the California Public Utilities Commission, I think it's 105 years now. I don't think there's ever been 2 African Americans on the commission at the same time. You know how we do, you know. So this governor really needs to be applauded for thinking out of the box. And I believe navigating the state during some very, very difficult times. It's not perfect. Who is? Okay. But if the G8 was measured by GDP, Governor Brown would be at the G8 gatherings that happened throughout the year. If the Iranian embargo and that nuclear armaments or de-armament deal was measured by GDP, Governor Brown would be involved in the Iranian talks. I'm putting in context the importance of the California economy to the world, and the California Black Chamber of Commerce is the organization that dictates the economic health and future of the African American community in this state. We have to be involved in our local chambers. How can we not? Well, I don't like the leadership. So what? This is bigger than you. This is bigger than that leadership. Because if we look at the civil rights challenges that we have today, I love Black Lives Matter. I love Black Lives Matter. They remind me of me when I was young. You know, we had a niece stay with us for the summer. Kim's niece, she's like 15 years old. She had a little summer job, and you know, they were kind of jacking her on her check. And I said, you know, when I was your age, we used to throw a chair across the room. It was amazing the effects it would have. And I'm not advocating that. Dr. Churchill, I'm going back to those days, you know, when we were in those meetings. You know what I'm talking about, okay? I love Black Lives Matter. Now I'm going to pull an 800-pound gorilla up on the stage. I gave you a little warning. Okay. There are aspects of the Tea Party that I like. Okay, have them handcuffed and take them out. I'll tell you what. We used used to be on strike shut it down.
Right.
This fringe organization that started actually during President Bush's administration as a libertarian-inspired movement to criticize and challenge federal spending, but from the John McCain town halls during his election against President Obama, a president that I supported twice, I raised money for, I got other Republicans to support this president. But it began to take a racial tone at that time because we are a racial nation, as we're experiencing now in a certain campus. Okay, we're a racial nation. But this fringe group of what some would call Looney Tunes, they shut the federal government down. We were defending the federal government. Oh my God, what are we going to do? They're talking about shutting down the federal government. That means the Eagle's not going to fly on Friday. Some of you here are too young to remember that. But this fringe group, so the Republicans came back to them and said, well, if you want us to enforce this debt ceiling, okay, if you want us to enforce this dramatic cut in spending, we got one. We're going to cut the military too. Tea Party said, go ahead. We said, cut. You have to, it was Susan Kennedy, the chief of staff to the governor, who said to me, read the enemy's newspaper every day. Every day. Okay? A rapper that I used to represent, I was his attorney, JT the Bigger Figure, he said it better. Game, recognize game. Okay? So I like Black Lives Matter. I like the youthful energy that's coming. People say, well, they're a leaderless organization. Let me tell you something about leadership. Asian Americans have the highest per capita income in the United States. Can someone tell me who the leader of the Asian American community is?
Right.
Okay. Sometimes I think we put a little too much on the leadership model. And it's primarily the leaders who are saying that they're a leaderless organization. Let's let these young people do what they got to do. Let's let them challenge the system the way we challenge the system, the way the founding fathers challenged the British government in their management of the 13 colonies. They will mature in time. When they start having mortgages and braces and tuition, they will start acting just like us. But for now, let's give them their support. And in that area in our youth, I meant to actually introduce two amazing young and brilliant youth that were kind enough to accompany me this morning. One is a recent graduate of McGeorge Law School here in Sacramento. He attended Stanford, where he was a baseball star. He took Stanford to a World Series and went on to play in the Houston Astros organization. And after his career in baseball, played at AAA level, decided he was going to go to law school and choose a new career. And we're anxiously awaiting his results from a little quiz that all of us in the law profession have to take. But let me take a moment to just introduce Mr. Johnny Ash. He's a great kid. He's a great kid. I met his dad when I was a student at Hastings Law School. His father was a student, a graduate student at the Ohio School of Business. Remember his mom and dad when they were dating, we were all kind of running around in the same crowd. And I'm not afraid or ashamed to say that, like many of us who graduate from law school and go through what we go through to establish ourselves, he's looking for a job. Okay? Don't ever be ashamed to say that you're looking for a job. Because otherwise, if you're not, I had a friend who ran a real estate office, large real estate office. He used to tell his agents, if you're not handing out your car, you're a secret agent. Okay, so never. So this is a brilliant young man. He's living here in Sacramento. He's going to have a great impact on this city. I'm telling you this. I know it. And he's very committed to civil rights. He eventually and ultimately wants to practice criminal defense law, which is the apex of the Constitution, protecting those that are in charge. crimes. We know this better than anybody else. And Johnny and other folks who may be considering law school, your children telling law school, don't listen to that there are too many lawyers. Don't listen to that there are too many lawyers. When I was appointment secretary, the governor appoints the wardens of the various prisons. And I would visit all the prisons. A little prayer I used to say, dear Lord, if any of my friends from Lakeview recognize me, please don't have to shout out my name. If you believe that we have too many black lawyers, go to a prison or a county jail. And I'm sure you will recognize that we need more lawyers that are out there. If you believe that we don't have enough black lawyers, go into the African American inner city communities and look at the lack of economic development. There are lawyers that present those easements. There are lawyers who draft those real estate transactions. There are lawyers who review those loan agreements. There are lawyers who advise these private equity groups, these angel investors. Yes, the African American community needs more lawyers. We just need more African Americans and others to hire black lawyers. I'm going to wrap it up, Aubrey, because I don't want you to have to come up here and drag me off stage. But there's no ifs, ands, or buts about the importance of what you're discussing today. If we look at the communities where we have seen excessive force from police officers, maybe with the exception of Trayvon Martin, who was in more of a middle-class area where his family lived, but you will find one thing in common: life, abandonment, and despair in these communities. This president has had an amazing track record of delivering what he said he was going to do. He's done that. But what he never said he would do was have a focus on business and the effect that business has on the African American community. See, I am a citizen, and I'm going to criticize who's ever in office because they serve me. I don't serve them. Okay? When I was a public utilities commissioner, I served you. You didn't serve me. When I was an appointment secretary, I served you. As Governor Schwarzenegger would say to me, Timothy, I'm not the governor for the Republican Party. I'm the governor for the people of California. Jerry Brown is not the governor for the Democratic Party. He's the governor for the people of California. Stop giving public officials rock star status. That's not what they're there for. They are public servants. So I said to Aubrey, I said, Aubrey, I'm just kind of disappointed. People said that they were, don't be wrong, Cuba, okay, great, lifting the embargo. Iran, I think the deal has issues, but at the end of the day, I think bringing Iran into the dialogue is better than keeping them out of the dialogue. I really do. Okay. Both of these nations had given up enormous sovereign rights in order to engage economically with the West. Because, quite frankly, as we witnessed in China this week, and I know some of you are on your phones looking at your 401ks right now, but the West is still the best when it comes to economic development. It's just the way it is. And we're sitting right now in the best of the best by being the 6th largest economy of the world. So if we take great measures to lift embargoes from nations, one of which is literally funding terrorist activities against this nation, if we go out of our way to appease a nation that is dumping oil into the marketplace, which is driving down our prices of oil and actually already causing unemployment in many areas of the oil patch. I was speaking in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, just a couple of weeks ago. Similar scenario that we have here with our Monterey shell here, Monterey Santa Maria shell. Pennsylvania has the Marcellus shell, and a company called EQT held a supplier diversity gathering and asked me to come and be the keynote speaker. They're having it hard. They're having it hard. So if we can lift the embargoes off of nations that actively advocate against the interests of this country, why can't we lift the embargoes on the African American community and the difficulty that we have in accessing capital and accessing the proper resources to advance our business agenda? It is unacceptable. And let me say this. So Aubrey said to me, yeah, Timothy, you're probably right. But we didn't bring him anything. We didn't give him anything to work with. We didn't give him the right legislation. Well, okay, Aubrey, you and I have not always agreed. But let me say this. That's spilled milk. That's leaves in the wind. But don't let another politician stand on this stage. Don't let another politician come to your church. Don't let another politician address you on why you should give them their vote if they are not articulating a defined agenda and policy that is advancing African American businesses in the African American community. You create the jobs. You create the jobs. And that's the political problem. You go far to the left, they want the government to create everything. Okay, I want a safety net. I do. It's in my faith. And then you go to the far right, and they're not even discussing the dialogue. It's all about maintaining a certain status quo. Somewhere in the middle, there are economic opportunities. I heard Henry Cisneros once, former HUD secretary. I wish he had run for president. I really do. But he talked about emerging domestic markets. That right here in America, we have markets that have enormous growth and profit potential with the right tools and resources. If you do not believe me, watch McDonald's. McDonald's will open up on blocks that some of you are afraid to walk down. And they'll make money all day long. Watch Walmart. Walmart will come into communities that were written off. Recently, I met with a group. I represent energy interests. I recently met with a group of Iranians down in Southern California. They large real estate developers, and they wanted to move into the solar industry. And I went to their offices in the Flower District and was just amazed by the different developments that they had on the wall. These gentlemen shared with me that they began to invest in South Central and Compton and other areas. Straight Outta Compton will probably be the top movie again this week. If not number one, it'll be number two. If you don't believe that our ideas, that our life stories, that our abilities, absolutely, Bruce. Don't drag me off the stage, Bruce. Absolutely. So, my point being, as I close. I heard that. Make sure in this election cycle that we give them something. Make sure that we're sitting down with these, and I don't care if they're black, white, brown, or whatever. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat or Tea Party or Green. Make sure we force them to articulate what opportunities they're going to work with us to advance. I think government plays an important role in the markets, by the way. You probably, economically, you call me a Keynesian. Let's make certain that we do not lose another opportunity. And that we look up 4 years later and say, what happened? What happened? Why is my community still under neglect? In closing, I want to also introduce another young man who's here today. He's holding the iPhone that's filming me right now. And that's my son, Jamal Allen Simon, who's here today. Jamal attended Fisk University and is living up here in Sacramento and working in the food service industry, but actually he has a bigger dream. He's taking bicycles and repairing them and reselling them. And I'm very excited. Aubrey, some folks do want to ride a bike to work. Okay? Some do.
Every day.
And I'm very proud of him and his dream. I want to get behind his dream. That's part of what TAS Strategies does. Is provide capital access and design and direction to those who want to put their risk capital and other risk capital in place. So God bless you for this very important gathering that you're having today. The dialogue that you're having that Aubrey covered is immediately impactful to our community. Business development to me is the last bastion of civil rights for this nation. And we want all to participate in this great dream in our communities with our businesses. We don't want to self-segregate. We want white America to come do business with our businesses in our community. We want brown America and yellow America. We want tourists. We want everyone to contribute to this great story of a people that fought in every war in this nation's history, that fought in wars for this nation for the rights of others abroad and couldn't get the same rights when they came home. There's no greater story in America than the African American story. I don't mean to in any way insult other races, but just give me 254 years of slavery, and then we'll make that the baseline. Then we can talk about the contribution that's been made. We don't use that as a weapon against our brothers and sisters from other nations, from other lands. We use it as a way to embrace us and for us to embrace them for a greater future. So God bless all of you on this great gathering that you're having in this nation state, the 6th largest economy in the world. Thank you for taking your time and giving your ideas to direct us in a state that has 6.2% African American unemployment. And those are just those that are filing at the EDD. Yeah. Okay? We're now par with Alabama. We have the same unemployment rate as Alabama. The highest in the nation is Alaska at 6.7. We have work to do. And the work is going to be done here. Thank you for your time and listening to me. God bless you.